Hey everyone, Chris and Tanya with Clutter Reduction Junk Removal in Southeast Florida. We will be introducing momentarily Mr. Andrew Thompson from Jedi Junk Removal. You may know him from his junk removal side, and now he is the owner of Autopilot, which is a CRM that is meant to replace House Call Pro, Workies, all those other guys out there that charge you an arm and a leg to basically run your business for you. But he's going to be doing it at a much more affordable cost with double the amount of features. So he's going to be joining us. We're going to talk a little bit about his background, a little bit about his past businesses, and also a little bit about his future strategies with Autopilot, and just a little bit about what's going on with him in general. Tanya is also going to ask him a couple of scenario-based questions. So a little bit of a, hey, if this were to happen, how would you react? How would you act in this situation? Because I think we all, with junk removal, run into problems where we're not really sure how to react to, and it's something that somebody who has been there, has done that in a much higher caliber, can really learn from. So introducing in just a moment is Andrew Thompson.
Hey, Marcus.
I'll say Andrew, you are up.
Yo, what is up?
How's it going?
How you doing? Sorry, I'm sending out a new link real quick. For some reason, your StreamYard made a new live. So the link that I sent to everybody, I'm sending right now. So hold on. I don't know why I created a whole new live, but
pause momentarily.
Yeah. So let me just send out that link really quick, and then I'll say hello. So okay, cool. I think I got it out. Bada boom. Sending it out. All right. Thank you so much, man, for having me. And I'll on my camera.
How do you share everything? Do you?
So I have So yeah, I blast out through.
That's awesome.
Yeah, through Autopilot.
That's really cool.
So yeah, man. Hey, Tanya, Chris.
Hi.
I saw you. God, when was it? Where was that at?
Cali. That was last October, Junk Expo.
Yeah, Junk Expo.
That was Junk Expo, right? Well, that was when we went and got breakfast that morning. Yeah.
Yes.
Wow, was that
fun time?
Wow.
I know there's a lot in between that's happened. We missed Matt Finch's like Junk Expos.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, we weren't able to make it out to Texas during that time, but we plan on being there in October this year.
You better be at this one. It's going to be a banger.
Yes.
Yeah, well,
so yeah, thanks for having me, man.
Hey, so we had a couple of questions. You and I actually made a live a while ago that never went public because
So speaking of that, so guys, anybody who's watching, actually, let me see. Christina says, my lady says, she says hi.
I was going to say, first off, we need to say congratulations to you, because since we last saw you and Christina, you guys had some big news.
Yeah. So. You're talking about the proposal, right?
Yeah. Unless you have more news for us.
Not yet. Maybe soon. You never know. But finally popped the question, and it was long over. It was it was a little overdue, but I wanted to make it good. I wanted to make it epic. So
yeah. It looks beautiful.
Wait, did I send you guys the video?
No, I gotta see
my God. So I'm gonna upload the video later. I'll send it. Did I send it to you, Chris? Did I send you the proposal video at all?
I don't think so. I think I saw it through Facebook.
Okay, so you just saw the photo, but wait till you see the video. Yeah. It's epic. I'll save it because I am gonna upload it to my YouTube channel so everybody can see it.
Nice.
So yeah, but thank you so much. Feels good to finally not call her my girlfriend.
Yeah.
Now she's your fiance.
After 5 years, it starts to feel awkward, like saying my girlfriend,
Yeah.
Now you don't have to correct us when we say your fiance or your wife.
Yeah, because we were saying that to begin with.
So probably more than a couple months ago, you and I did a live, and I asked a little bit more personal questions of what you typically don't see with the junk removal, typical YouTube scene. Kind of getting a little bit more of a better in-depth view of Andrew from his past with his businesses. If you don't know, he had a pretty up and down record between businesses and MySpace back when we all used to use MySpace. And he's gone up and he's gone down, just like the stock market. And he jumped into junk removal. did $1 million first year, which is pretty incredible for most people. And now he's running a worldwide CRM app that's gonna basically take over WorkEase and House Call Pro.
That is the plan.
That is the plan.
Speak into existence.
We're here for it. So we wanted to go
real quick before you get to your questions. I feel like we had a really good when we recorded that session. Something got messed up with the audio, and I know we just never did it, but it was really good because you asked more personal questions rather than just the generic where people are like, how did you do your ads? How much money did you make? You know, it was not surface level. It was a little below the surface. So it's a bummer, but hopefully maybe we'll get some personal questions in here if you guys want. So yeah, but yeah.
We definitely will, and I still have it on my YouTube. It's just marked private, but maybe if we can ever figure that out, we'll do something with it. So just real quick, if you want to introduce yourself for anyone who doesn't know and what you're currently doing with Autopilot, and then we'll get into our questions.
Yeah, let me give the 30-second recap. So I started off as a software engineer since a young kid. Been a programmer my entire life. COVID, I fell into junk removal because of whatever reasons, right? We'll probably get into that later. So I ended up getting into home services, junk removal specifically, and I took my skills from, being an internet nerd and started scaling Jedi junk removal. I was known on YouTube. I did tons of videos showing my Google ads behind the scenes, my Clover machine, my tax returns, actual proof that I was spending $250,000 a year on Google ads and doing 1.1 million. Top line, it's a vanity number. So when, I use it as clickbait, it's a really impressive number. And, my margins were still good, even with Google ads. I did just shy of $250,000 profit, right? After 1.1 million. $250,000 it's a lot of money, but I do live in Los Angeles and I have 2 kids and, yeah, so it sounds, but it's still a lot of fucking money. And then the second year I cracked $1 million again and did another $250,000 in profit. In that same second year, after making $250,000 again, I sold the company for $225,000. So the second year I pulled in almost $500,000 technically because I sold the company as well. So, and I did that all in the span of 2 years and 4 months, sold the company. And if you guys have been following, if anybody's been following my journey, since I started my YouTube channel, I always said in the beginning, started a junk removal business as a stepping stone to return to my passion of technology and apps. I invite you guys to stick around, hang out, follow me on my journey from building a junk removal, becoming a junk removal business titan to building $1 billion home services app. So my intentions were always from the beginning, 1 year into my junk removal journey, I was like, I'm going to build better software. My intentions were to go back to my travel software. But when I was about 8 to 12 months into my junk removal journey, I was like, holy shit, I'm going to build this software better. It's $1 billion industry. And that was my intentions from the very, and I honestly thought I was going to scale my junk removal business a lot longer, but we'll get into why later probably. But yeah, so I'm the guy who did 1 million his first year, technically 14 months, but I use 1 year as clickbait. But yeah, and now I am building Autopilot, which is a field service management software, CRM, customer relationship management software to run your home service business. Okay, that was a little longer than 30 seconds. That might have been 2 minutes.
Yeah, if you were in a networking group, they would have kicked you out by now.
I know.
They're very
short version. I started a junk removal company, made $1 million. Now I'm building software. The end.
I like your explanation better.
So before we actually get into questions, Tanya has a question that's a little bit more detailed if you want to jump right into that.
Oh, we're jumping right in. Okay.
Only because you mentioned the selling of the business. We're going to get into that later on. But Tanya has a pretty in-depth question if you want to start things off a little rough.
Yeah, let's get
right into it.
Let's get into the dirt. Let's go.
Okay. Well, first to say hi to everyone that's joined. Thank you for joining. So you're talking about
Tanya, real quick. Why don't you just do a quick little introduction of you, real quick? I'm not sure how many people see you too often with Chris because he's kind of solo. I know you're recently on the YouTube channel now, but who are you? Huh?
Yes, yeah, that's true. I think this is the first time I've been really on live. I know I've like appeared here and there, but I usually try to sneak out before the end of it and let Chris like kind of take it on. But yeah, hey guys, I'm Tanya. For anyone who doesn't know me, I'm Chris's wife, but I also just joined Clutter Reduction full time. So I was working in property management for like 10 years. Whole W-2 life was all about it. And then, you know, after being with Chris and marrying him and all that good stuff that comes with it, I wanted to be part of this industry and the wonderful work that junk removal provides, and the security for the family and the excitement and the hustle and grind. So we've been doing that since, I would say, starting this year officially. And it's been great because every month we've been hitting our goals of, you know, 12,000, 13,000 a month, which is like small dollars probably compared to some people or most people. But listen, for us, you know, we keep our expenses low. And so that money is, you know, going right to us and allowing us to keep building the company. And we do a lot of the work ourselves. So Crystal does a lot of like solo, you know, understanding of how to start the business and how to work if you're a smaller company. But, you know, and I've learned a lot from him too, just on that. And I hope to help, you know, build it up to a medium size where we can have some people with us and make a team, but, you know, stick to that not huge franchise-like company.
Right. That's awesome. Okay, cool. I just wanted to make sure people knew who you were too.
Thank you for that. Yeah, because I was just going to start talking. So
yeah, some people might be like, who is this woman next to the solo master over here?
Yeah, exactly. So thank you. And I know Andrew, by the way, from, I think it's been like, I think I met you for your event back out in California. Was it like 2 years ago? That was the first time meeting you.
I want to say it was February. Yes. Was it just February of last year? It might just be almost a year and a half.
No, I think it was even before that, right?
Was it?
I don't know.
It might. You might be right. If it was the year before that, boy, does time fly.
Yeah. Wow. No, if it was last year, it might have been. I just didn't realize we went to California twice in 1 year. So
it might have been the same year as the expo, or no?
I don't remember. See, now I'm gonna have to check. I don't know. Yeah. I'm gonna have to ask my lady. Hold on.
That was a fun time to meet you and meet a lot of people. So, for my first question, and this is really like kind of something I just want to know, but I'm sure a lot of people probably have similar ideas. So, from the time of owning Jedi Junk Removal, opening it, you know, building it, selling it, to then going to what you've always wanted to do, back into tech, what would you say your success, your definition of success has like changed or evolved? So, you know, between owning a junk removal company and owning a tech company, how has your definition of success evolved or changed for yourself?
Ooh, yeah, that's so. When I was in my 20s, success for me was being a billionaire. It was all about, and I had a passion for technology. Like I loved, but my definition for success was definitely like have to build $1 billion company. Now, the ironic thing is I still want to build $1 billion company, but the mindset's completely shifted. So when I was maybe even just before this, I went through a drastic life change at the Jesus year, 33 years old. Like this whole junk removal journey really changed who I was as a person. I truly believe that. My girl thinks so too, because I was a lot douchier prior to this. You know, I was this thought I was this LA cool kid. So for me, it was purely, I have to build $1 billion company. You know, this is the only thing that defines me as a person is money. And it's probably because I dropped out of high school at 17 years old and then made $2 million with a year and a half later. Wow. Cash. Like when I say cash, Google sent me $2 million, 1099 with no taxes taken out of it. I'm an 18-year-old kid. I have $2 million in cash. You can only imagine. So yeah. I had this perceived value where people started looking at me as this kid with tons of money. And that was like what I had to have a nice car. I had to have my Bentley just to go places because like I wanted to be looked at as the guy with the Bentley. So that like really fucked with me in my 20s, like hard.
I can imagine.
So like I only thought my value came from that. It wasn't really until junk removal where my mindset shifted. So success now is like, I clearly still want a $1 billion company. I still want to do something, but now it's like my mindset is shifted as build something that people love. Right. So now it's like build a good product that people love. I could say like success is having a good, like a happy family and kids. But I feel like that's kind of like
generic.
The obvious part of life.
Sure.
I think anybody can be successful. Maybe not. Maybe not everybody's good at family, right? But that's kind of like inherently obvious to me. So my success definition now, outside of having happy children that do well in life, is now it's build something people want to use, because I get butterflies in my stomach when people use my product. It makes me feel good and it makes them feel good. So it's like kind of like a win-win. So to me, my definition for success is build something people love. And now it's like, I don't look at the $1 billion price tag that I once wanted because I wanted a $1 billion company. There's like this different reason now. And it's not like some spiritual reason. It's just now I don't feel so like I need to be a billionaire. So I hope that makes sense.
Yeah,
So,
no, that makes perfect sense. And honestly, that's like really good to hear, because I think, we've talked in the past too, when I was leaving work, I was leaving like a 6-figure salary, and like my career was like mostly like money driven. I was always for the higher pay, the higher bonus, like career success, just being the top dog of everything. And switching, working with Chris now, it's a different mindset in the sense that it's not just about the money coming in. There's like a purpose to it, and there's some value to it.
It's a weird contradiction, because like you want the success because you want the money, but things start to change as you get older and you start to do your own thing and you start seeing the value that you bring people. I guess your why changes. Your why.
Yeah.
So there's a book by Simon Sinek called Start with the Why. Great book. And he talks about how like $1 billion companies that truly succeed, they lead with why. They lead with the why. So Apple's vision is, he makes a really good analogy of like, okay, when PC came along, it was like, we have 100 megabytes of, we have 10 gigabytes of RAM, blah, 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 where they start labeling all these hardware features. And Apple's advertisements were, do you want to feel good about yourself? Do you want, they lead with the why. So their advertisements were all, now it's a little, it's a little more featuries and like, hey, look at, but they would always start with the why. They want you to feel good using Apple products. So I think my why has changed. And that's a great book that really breaks it down, is Start with Why. It's a great book. If you want, I would recommend anybody read it. But so hope that answers your question.
It does. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Now, heading back into the other fun stuff, this is a little bit of a recap of what you and I talked about that no one ever got to see, the Lost documentary. And you mentioned it briefly in your intro and also with Tanya, but I don't know if a lot of people know about your background with different businesses, as far as which ones have started up and then which ones failed. So if you want to talk a little bit about everything you've technically done business-wise from a startup and then the failure as well, and maybe a little bit of how that's changed your perspective going forward with future endeavors and businesses and your mindset behind it all. Because I imagine each failure and each startup success is going to affect your future well-being and how you view things.
Okay, so let me to clarify the question. Every business that's worth mentioning that I've done in the past and kind of like what I learned from it, or how I or something like that.
Yeah, what you've learned and how you think it kind of contributes to how you perceive things now.
Okay, so this is crazy because it's funny because I should be worth $100 million right now. And even my girl, she thinks it's a blessing that I wasn't, because she thinks that if I'd be a different person had I not taken a little hiatus. We'll get into it. So when I was 17, I was addicted to, I was just a computer. I drank soda, normal soda before I was doing Diet Coke. It was normal soda. And I would just code all day. I had acne all over my skin. It was really bad. Things did get better when I started turning 18 or 19, though. You know, I started when I had all that money, started, you know, generally, you know, when you see celebrities, they start looking better the more money they get somehow for some, but
magically.
plastic surgery. But no, anyways, my first business was purely out of luck. They say you build your own luck. So, you know, luck is being prepared for when that moment comes, right? When you can take luck is being prepared to take advantage of opportunities. You can't take advantage of opportunities if you aren't working hard and you don't see the opportunities. So I had been programming my entire life, and MySpace came along. I was 17 years old and I saw what was going on in the MySpace world. It was wild. Did you guys use MySpace?
Yeah.
Do you remember bulletins?
Yes.
You could post a bulletin and it would show 5 or 10 bulletins from all of your friends, right? And it would just advertise bulletins to your entire friend list. So I started growing my friend list because growing your friends on MySpace was like a big deal back then. It was a wild time. And anyways, I saw what was happening, and there was one person doing something interesting. He had this little website with some really basic MySpace codes. So I can't take credit for being the first, but I can take credit for being the first MySpace profile editor ever. I can't take credit for being a lot of MySpace things first, but this friend of mine, he was like, his name's Chris. If you ever see this, Chris Chase. He had this like little website with some codes, some basic stuff going on. And I was like, I'm going to take this to the next level. And I got copied so hard. Like, it's a story in itself. So many people copied me, and that's just what happens. But it was so, I felt so infringed on because it wasn't normal back then. There wasn't a YouTube. The YouTube was just launching in 2006. Like, there wasn't this. I was just like, holy shit, everybody's copying me. But anyways, I was doing 20 million page views a day. 20 million page views a day. So I started raking in like $5,000 a day from ads, and I'm fucking 18 years old, right? Dropped out of high school. I couldn't believe it. I had to call to try to get a hold of Google. It was called Google AdSense at the time, where you get paid for, if somebody sees your ads on your website and they click it, you get paid from Google. And then I had banner ads where it's you get paid per CPM, which is cost per milli, which means per 1,000 views, you get $3 or $5. So I'm raking in like thousands of dollars a day. And I couldn't believe it. And I believe it was a net 30 or net 45 pay so you would go a whole calendar month, a whole full 30 days earning $5,000 a day. Right. And at the end of that month, my first paycheck was $180,000. And I was like, holy shit, there's no way. There's no fucking way. There's no way. I was freaking out. But I had to wait 45 days after that calendar day to ever get that check. And it was a check, not direct deposit. It was a mail check. I eventually got direct deposit. So here I am going into the second month, waiting, running ads for another 30 days because it's 45 days after the calendar month. And I'm like, do I believe this? Do I keep running these ads? What do I do? I finally, 45 days later, $180,000 check shows up. It took 10 days to clear. And, you know, I shit myself. I literally was like, I showed my mom, I showed my mom's husband at the time, and I freaked out. And honestly, there wasn't much learning from that. Like, all I learned was how to be a stupid asshole. Like, I was never a mean person, but I blew that money so fast. It lasted maybe 2 years for $1 million a year. You know, and a lot of learning lessons from that. I will say I learned a lot about taxes. I know the tax law and what you can get away with the tax man better than anybody. I pushed it to the limit. I had a 7-year tax lien. I ended up spending $250,000 in taxes so I sent in $340,000 out of 2.1 million. Obviously not enough. Sent in $340,000 and then sent in $60,000 to the state. They put a lien on me, a lien on my house. Never took my house. They just put a lien, fucked up my credit. Statute of limitations, 7 years. It fell off. And then I had $250,000 in tax debt that I owed. So from 18 to 28, they rolled it over to their new collection agency. IRS has 3 collection agencies they deal with. There's something called an OIC, an offer and compromise. Since I've never lied or did tax evasion, they took my offer and compromise. It went from $250,000 to $20,000 cleared with the IRS. Didn't pay taxes for those entire 10 years. So I filed, but never paid.
Yeah.
So, and my tax attorney told me, like, if you're not doing tax evasion, you're not hiding shit, and you just report your taxes and you don't lie and you have no money, you can't go to jail. Now, don't do that. You'll fuck up your credit and they'll be after you and you'll have fines and penalties eventually. But point is, I did an OIC after 10 years, an offer and compromise, and I learned the tax law better than anybody. So I had a tax attorney, like, the last 2-3 years, we're working out an offer and compromise, and I just so crazy learning lessons. So from that experience, I'd say my lessons learned were save your money, and you can get away with a lot with the tax man if you just don't lie. So then my next journey was, I lived in foreclosure in my house too. I had this $500,000 house in Colorado, which it's now worth like $1.2 million. But a $500,000 house in the city that I lived in is like a mansion out here. So I lived in that house in foreclosure from the age when I bought the house at 18. I lived in foreclosure. This is the beauty about houses. Every law is a little bit different, but I lived in foreclosure for 5 years. They never took the house, just foreclosed. Never took my house. So I learned a lot about foreclosure law, and I short sold my house before it got foreclosed, and the bank paid me to short sell. So even though the house was upside down, they wrote me a check for $20,000 just to short sell it. So I would say I learned a lot about legal, law, finances, what to do, what not to do. Say, like, my whole world was just shifted upside down, right? So
you're so young too.
Yeah. And
like,
then
such a young age.
And then my next learnings, which was my next thing, I took, I kind of lived in foreclosure for a few years trying to figure out what to do, did odd jobs programming for people. Then the next big thing that I did is I got into Bitcoin in 2010 when it was $13 a coin. So I bought Bitcoin at $13 a coin, and I made $3 million from Bitcoin from 2010 to 2014. And right before Bitcoin hit $20,000 a coin, the first time it ever spiked, I sold it at $600 a coin, my last $60,000 in Bitcoin. My friends and I had so much Bitcoin. It was 600 coins, or what's the math? It was roughly 600 a coin when I sold, and I think I had $60,000. So like I had 100 something Bitcoins at the time, right? And I sold it months before it spiked up to $20,000. And I think that was in 2014, 15, 16, I don't remember what year it was. And then, so I made roughly $2.5 million from Bitcoin. And I was actually doing blockchain coinings. I was doing Solidity. I was playing with all the technologies with Bitcoin. So I made a lot of money from crypto. And the funny thing is, I haven't touched crypto since. I just don't care about crypto. Crypto's a giant. I can talk about crypto, but here, just for clickbait for everybody, crypto's a fucking scam. Now, so is crypto great? Sure. Is the technology, blockchain technology and NFTs, non-fungible token? I love blockchain. The ledger is you have standard databases like Postgres, MySQL, standard databases, which are SQL, structured query language, tables and rows, standard databases. The blockchain ledger is a peer-to-peer database on each person's computer. It's shared. It's decentralized. So the technology is amazing. Just nobody's Bitcoin was supposed to be used as currency.
Yeah.
Every crypto coin, tell me if I'm wrong. Everybody's just trying to make money. They're just trying to make money. They're not using it as its intended purpose. Everybody's just trying to scam each other with NFTs and shit coins and ICOs, initial coin offering, blah, 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 blah. So that's why I never went back into crypto, is because I was like, I can't build something over here where people are going to be one day, Andrew, what you did is impressive. I wanted to build a real business. So I left crypto because I was like, this is what I'm just trading coins. That's not okay. Cool. I make $5 million trading coins, but what kind of what legacy am I going to leave? How am I going to impress the people that I want to impress? How am I going to get on stage with Alex Hermosis or Gary Vaynerchuk or Tom Bilyeu's when all I do is trade fucking crypto? Cool. Maybe you make $20 million, but I want to be respected for building something, not getting rich off crypto. So now I'm not saying don't invest in crypto and make money. I want to make that clear. Invest in crypto if it's going to go to the moon. So I'm not saying I'm against crypto. It's just a lame fucking way to get rich, right? To me, like if I can make millions off crypto, I'll still do it. It's just I want to be known for something bigger and better. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So then I'm sorry. Is this okay? Am I going too long of a tangent? Do you guys want me to? There's two more businesses to talk about. And then I think you can have.
Let's talk about them, and then I have a question based off something you're
talking about earlier. You can go all the way back.
Yeah.
So after that was my fitness app, and I wasn't passionate about my fitness app. We got onto Planet of the Apps, Apple TV's first ever TV show ever, which bombed. We thought it was going to be bigger than Shark Tank, and I'll send you guys the TV show later. It's called Planet of the Apps. Gwyneth Paltrow, will.i.am, Gary Vaynerchuk, and Jessica Alba. We got onto the TV show. And I was able to, because we got on the TV show, we were able to raise money because people were like, oh my God, this is going to be amazing. I was the CTO. My friend was the CEO, my old business partner, and still really good friend. I had no passion for building a fucking fitness app. Like it was a booty. We had like booty programs to like grow your booty. And like, I was just like, so didn't give a fuck about it. But we got on to the TV show with it and we raised money and we did the whole thing. We got Summer Rae. She's from Colorado. I'm from Colorado. She has 25 million followers. She was our business partner. She had 10% in the company.
Wow.
Ultimately, I lost the passion for the app. And honestly, if I cared as much as my old business partner did for the 3 years we ran it, there may have been a potential. But unfortunately, my mind was checked out. This is 9 years ago now. This is a long time ago. And we ran that company for 3 years. Ultimately, the churn was too high. The customer, they go through the booty program, they unsubscribe. It's only $20 a month, $10 for a fitness app. So ultimately, I left the company and he kept running it for another like few months or whatever. And then he quit too. And then that's where I went to my travel app. And then COVID hit.
Damn.
So I had to give up on the travel app. And I was like, okay, I'm fucking burnt out. I am burnt out. I spent 3 years on this other shitty app I didn't care about. Right. And then I just spent a year building a travel app and it was ready to launch. And then COVID hits. And then I went for a whole year. I went for a whole year waiting for COVID to go away. And then eventually I was like, okay, I'm fucking broke. Ran out of all my money. And you shit all over my COVID, my Gypsy travel app. You shit all over it. Normally you have nobody to blame in business but yourself. But that I could truly blame on problems outside of me, right? Like that was an uncontrollable.
It's a tough time for everyone.
Yeah. So usually if something goes wrong, you have where you're at in life, there's one person to blame. Unfortunately, where you at currently in life is the choices and decisions that you accept and make, and you pay the consequences. You are where you are for a reason. Now, there are sometimes greater outside forces, right? There's other countries who might not be in the same position that we're in. And I understand people can be raised in different conditions. I totally get that. I'm not denying that. But generally speaking, you get what I'm saying. So then I was like, I'm not going to go get a programming job and clock in and do programming for a corporate company. I'm just not going to do it. My friend was like, you can make a bunch of money picking up trash. And I was like, how much? And then he was like $1,000 a day, all the YouTube videos. Yeah. And that brings us up to Jedi junk removal. So I will let you guys ask any questions because I just gave you a lot.
You did. But you have like such a wealth of knowledge. So it's cool hearing. I know a little bit. I'm sure Chris knows way more, but I know a little bit about your past, just hearing and passing. And so to kind of hear a good timeline of everything and what you've been in, it totally makes sense how like you're in autopilot now and your passion for it. It totally makes sense how you transitioned a little bit, after that with Jedi junk removal. So, I mean, talking about motivation, one of my original questions to you is going to be like, when you start to see yourself, and this is kind of something to help, other business owners, but when you see yourself losing motivation in something, what are some ways you get yourself back on, or how do you bring that passion back, or do you just move on?
So I think I was blessed with good DNA. I think my DNA is I'm just constantly motivated. I wake up motivated. There's not a day in my life I'm depressed. I have rough days, but I think I was honestly, I have days where I'm tired. I'm like, God damn it, why did I just take a power nap? I feel so fucking tired, right? But generally speaking, every single day, I am pumped. I am motivated to try to crush it. So I've never had to like pull myself out of like I'm not motivated. Granted, yeah, there's sometimes I have shit I don't want to like work on. I'm like, I don't want to teach a live class right now. Like I don't want to teach a junk removal class right now, or I don't feel like doing this. But generally speaking, I'm constantly motivated to build my product constantly. So unfortunately, I don't have tips on that. I will say this: when I work out and eat good, I feel a lot better. But
Yeah. Chris
I
was
think,
telling me you like been on that journey
yeah.
too.
So my DNA. I think I was blessed with good DNA when it comes to just like being pumped to like just do like want more in life. I've always wanted more. Like I've always wanted to crush it. I get excited by progress, like whenever I'm doing like whenever I'm doing well. Or so the one thing I guess I can say is what's the biggest thing for me? Yeah, the one thing is you just got to stop being a I don't want to say a bad word on here, but you just got to stop being a little girl. I'm not trying to be sexist, but yeah, I've always been motivated, Tanya.
So do you ever run into like imposter syndrome for yourself, or?
All the fucking time, all the time. So yeah, I'm getting better at it though.
Yeah.
But I get imposter syndrome today, like even now, like when I was building Autopilot with my business partner, I was like, shit, am I a good enough coder to build enterprise software? And I just think back to the founders of Airbnb because I watch their old videos, and I
Mhm.
look at their old shitty fucking website. I'm like, okay, I've seen, but I get imposter syndrome a lot now because there are some really good engineers out there. But now I just think, okay, you know what? I'm going to be hiring the better engineers. But my most recent imposter syndrome is, can I be the CEO of $1 billion company? Because I truly believe I can get to $100 million company, no problem. I truly believe. I believe 100% we'll get to 100 million with me and a team of 9 people. 10 people will hit $1 billion, maybe 20. Right? I truly think we can.
Yeah.
Without a shadow of a doubt, we'll hit 100 million. So anybody who's invested, your investment's going to 10, 20x, no matter what. Right? Can't guarantee that because we're filed with the SEC. I promise you, I'm going to try my best to do that. So, but my biggest imposter syndrome right now is, can I run a billion? Like I look at Jeff Bezos talk. I look at Elon Musk. Well, not Elon Musk. Elon Musk, he's got, a little bit of autism and stutters a lot. So, but
Yeah.
he's a smart motherfucker. He did physics and, like he has fucking satellites all over planet Earth, and he puts rockets on the moon, and he has electric driving cars, and he's a pretty smart guy. Right.
Yeah.
So I look at all these other billionaires and I'm like, dude, they're smarter than me. So that's, I think my biggest imposter syndrome right now is I sometimes doubt myself being able to get to $1 billion company. Um, that's I deal with that weekly, but then I'm
Yeah.
just like, you know what? Hey, I'll learn it. I'll figure it out on the way.
But see, it's good even though you have that, you don't let you lose motivation. Like you still have
Yeah.
the motivation to do everything you want to do, even
Mhm.
though you may believe that like there's a part of that where you feel almost underserving, or you don't believe you can, but you don't let that keep you from trying. So I
Right.
think that's really important.
Yeah. That is probably some people. imposter syndrome does defeat them, you know.
Yeah.
Classic analysis paralysis, or you know, imposter syndrome. People like, they get depressed. I'm not good enough. It hits me and I think about it and I'm like, fuck. And then I just kind of move on, you know, like, and say fuck. Like, you just got to say fuck it, you know.
I have a question about Autopilot. So you switched over to junk removal because your buddy said you could make $1,000 a day and you just needed the money at the time. But how long into junk removal did you realize, because your intros, this as a stepping stone to get back into my tech world?
Yep.
I'm sure before that you weren't looking to do a CRM though. What junk removal that said, hey, this is an opportunity. All these apps suck. I could 10x this. Is that what really stuck to it, or did you think that you would do a CRM?
It's quite an interesting story, because I had Gypsy, the travel app, on the back burner, right? I was like, and I had a team of me, Alex, Saram, the copywriter, Zach, Abby, and the travel editor. It was like a team of 8 or 9 people, right? That I had rallied up to believe in me. We're going to build Gypsy, $1 billion travel app. And we were all Shag, if you're watching this, at Shag, the copyright, like an amazing team on Gypsy. And they knew I was broke now from sitting here working on Gypsy for a year, COVID. And so I was like, hey guys, I'm going to go do this thing over here. I will be back soon. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do this junk removal thing, get it to my friend. My friend was like kind of proof in the pudding, because he ran it before and he told me how easy it would be. And that's a different story. Like, he was running Google ads too, but he was like doing it a year, 2 years, 3 years before me. So Google ads was like great that long ago. Right. And I was like, I'm going to go do this and make money. Okay. And I'll be back to Gypsy. And I was like, I'm just going to try to get this thing running. And I think I'm going to get off the truck. My friend says I can do it. Get one truck making $20,000 a month, and it'll just be running itself. I just had this idea in my mind. It'd be that easy. And you start to realize, no, it's not that easy. Right. And then I realized, okay, I was like, I got to get 2 trucks, guys. I need 2 trucks running so that I can get an ops manager to run both those trucks. And then I can come back and work on Gypsy. And I was like, I'm going to launch another truck and I'll be right back, guys. Okay. This was the whole plan, was to go back to Gypsy. And then you start to realize, holy fuck, running a home service business is a nightmare. Any business is a nightmare. Every business has its own problems. You have to decide what business and what kind of problems you want to deal with. Not everybody wants to deal with software problems. Software problems suck, but I enjoy those problems. Junk removal, you know, dealing with trucks in that industry and those blue collar problems, some people strive in that world, right? They live for that shit. And I realized it wasn't that easy. So I kept telling them, guys, and they waited for me. You know, they had their jobs. We're all working on Gypsy on the side. And it was about a year in. I know the second truck was launched. So we launched the second truck 7 months in. We moved to Los Angeles about 7 months in. And I remember going to the gym in the steam room one day. So it's somewhere between 7 and 12 months. Okay. Because I know we had moved and launched the second location. And I had switched over to Workies from House Call Pro, because I remember I was using Workies. I was in the steam room on my phone. Yes. So dripping water in the steam room, because all phones have been waterproof for a long time now. And you know, running Google ads, you can't miss a phone call. Oh, Sparks got a good question. I'll answer that in a minute, Denise. So I remember getting a phone call and then going into the Workies app in the steam room, and I'm looking at the app and I'm like, God, this fucking app sucks. Like, I just remember, like, I was just like, there was parts of House Call Pro that I liked. There was parts that I liked of House Call Pro, but I had to switch for certain reasons. And I was like, fuck, man, I wish I just had this. And I never thought of B2B software ever, because B2B software, I never wanted to do B2B software because it was boring as fuck. I was like, who wants to build boring business software? I was like, I want to build a dating app. I want to build a travel, like something that's exciting for consumers. And it was in that moment, I was like, wait a second. I'm in junk removal now. So I have this, like, I know how shitty it was, and it's so hard to run a home service business. So I had this, like, resonated with it now. And it was like it became a passion. And that's when I was like, holy shit, I have to do this. And then I'll come back to Gypsy later. Then I realized, okay, building enterprise software is not easy. Like building Snapchat, like building a fucking Snapchat is easy. Building an Instagram, now it's way more sophisticated. Like there's a lot more features on it. But essentially, those apps are so. You upload a photo, you follow a friend. That's it, right? They're simple. Yeah. It's simple. It's very simple to build this kind of stuff. And you just hope you go viral and get 50, 100 million users. That's like everybody's dream when they build B2C software. Was my dream. So it was in that moment where I was like, okay, this is $1 billion. And then I went and looked at the valuation of House Call Pro. I looked up Jobber. I was like, holy shit. They're $1 billion industry and they've only got 15,000 customers. And then I started taking B2B SaaS software more serious. I always knew about SaaS, software as a service, but I never wanted to build it because I was like, this is boring. Why would I want to build a point of sale system for restaurants? That's lame. Yeah. Why the hell would I want to build hair salon software? That's boring as fuck. But now I'm like so passionate about it because I lived it, I breathed it. And so I have this affinity, this feeling for it. So now it's like, I'm like, okay, this is going to happen. We only need 5,000 people on our software and we're $100 million company. Like of course I can get 5,000 customers, right?
That's crazy. Yeah. Like, when you think about it, that's all you need.
Yeah. 5,000 customers at paying an average of $200 a month. And of course, it sounds expensive, but we're going to have low price tiers and high price tiers eventually, just like everybody else. 5,000 customers puts you at roughly somewhere between 50 and $100 million. It's hard. There's a lot of other variables that go into it, but yeah. So that was that. I hope that answers your question, Clutter Reduction. And Sparks, I'm going to answer this question really quick. What types of cybersecurity do you have on Autopilot to protect all the investors? If you're talking to protect investors, if you mean cybersecurity for the software itself, we use all standard compliance software. We're going to get SOC 2 verified. We use Amazon Web Services. We use all the latest and greatest security software that every other. We use the same shit that like Jobber and all of them use. We use the same databases. We use the same security with AWS. We use the same programming languages. It's all the same shit. Now, if you meant, but then you threw in a weird line, how to protect the investors. I don't know what you mean by cybersecurity to protect investors, because the cybersecurity protects everybody, not just investors, protects everybody who uses it. So anyways, I hope that answers the question, Clutter Reduction.
Yeah.
It does, yes.
Really quick, Sarah had a question too, and it kind of ties in from Load Runners about how many hours a day were you working on Autopilot while running Jedi? Were you working on Autopilot?
Couldn't. That is why I was too mentally exhausted from running operations of Jedi. That's why a lot of people on YouTube, a lot of haters, Ricardo, one of them, I still am friends with Ricardo, but to this day, he still doesn't believe I sold the company. He thinks I'm a liar. And a lot of people are like, why would you sell it for $225,000 when you make 1.1 million? There's no way. I sold the fucking company for almost $250,000, guys. I've showed proof and evidence. The reason why I sold it, and if I just waited another year, I could have gotten $450,000. If I waited one more year and had one more year of tax returns to prove, the longer you're in business, the more value you have. If you can show consistent, selling a 2-year-old business is kind of sketchy. They're like, why are you selling it? So I sold it because I could not focus on Autopilot. It was impossible. I was drained mentally and physically every fucking day. And it was chaotic. And wait till you guys get employees. I mean, that's the name of the game. It's a different type of problem, but when you start having employees, it gets, but it's a whole other can of worms, right?
Yes. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes perfect sense. So right now, it's just Autopilot. Like, no more Gypsy, no more.
No more Gypsy. Gypsy's squashed. And I'm never going back because in order to take this to $1 billion, like truly take it to $1 billion, some companies have IPO'd initial public offering on the stock market. Some have done it really fast in 2 years. Yeah. Some take 10 years. We're in this weird, funky movement of tech where tech gets like viral fast now, right? Because of TikTok and the new style of algorithms where it's the discovery algorithm. It's no longer the friend algorithm. It's it's an algorithm based on interest. It's the interest graph versus the friend graph.
Sure.
So TikTok changed the entire planet of the fucking world because things go viral based on interest. So it's just so much easier. And then running paid ads. So what I'm saying is you could theoretically build $1 billion company in 5 years if the right CEO. Now, it may take me 5, it may take me 10, but I promise you, I will get us. There is no doubt in my mind I'm going to squash Jobber. They're they sit somewhere between 3 and 5 billion. I want to say they're on the higher end, 5, because I just know they're sitting around 5 billion. Service Titan just IPO'd for 10 billion or 9 and change billion. But yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So when you first got into junk removal, like I came from an industry that was pretty much the same thing minus a couple of liabilities. And even when I went into junk removal, I had a lot of doubt as far as, is this something I want to continue doing? Is it going to be realistic enough? And is it something that has potential? Did you? Well, I would assume you did because you came out of a completely different industry. But when you got into junk removal, how much doubt did you have when you started doing it? Because obviously the first day you're not just right off the bat making $1,000 a day.
I was making $1,000 a day. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I was not. So you came from moving. That's why you have so many videos showing how to do stuff. By the way, guys, if any of you guys are from my channel, from Text Blast, go check out Clutter Reduction. If you're a solo operator, you need good moving tips because this motherfucker can move anything by himself. Dude, of course. So I was so you're probably not going to believe this either, Chris. I always almost say clutter reduction, but Chris,
that's right.
I was a very shy person, like outside of my environment, like going to a restaurant and having to talk to a table. Like if I'm meeting up with like 4 people, I was very, I've always been a crazy, like loud person. That's just me. But internally, I was like, okay, what do I say? What do I do? What do I do? I was always in my thoughts when talking to other people and being in environments, networking environments, like very shy internally, but I would like portray a goofy, loud character. Junk removal. I was so nervous going to my, not just because of like, how do I price and how do I figure this out? What am I going to do? They're going to watch me move the trash. What if I trip? What if I fall? What if I scratch their walls? I'm going to look like an idiot. What if I bend over and I look like a fool? Like, what if they think I'm doing it wrong? But I was so scared about, I was so nervous about the customer interactions because I just never did that. I've sat in front of a computer my entire life, right? My entire life. The 2.5 years of junk removal literally changed me. It made me, I changed because I had to start hiring my first. Well, I remember when I hired my first employee and I was like, holy shit, I got to sit next to this dude in the truck. What the fuck are we going to talk about the whole time? This is going to be weird. Like, I'm going to hire him and he's going to think I'm this young kid. What if he's older than me? I'm 30, 33. And what if the guy I hire is 45 and he's sitting next to me in this truck? And I was like so weirded out by, and then meeting customers, and I started getting better with customers and talking to people, constantly having to talk to people over and over and over on the phone and in person. Like now I can go into any situation and I don't give a fuck, like I don't give a fuck anymore at all. So I would say that was what I was most nervous about, Chris, was the interaction of other human beings.
I had a pretty similar experience with being there by myself. I talk about it all the time. You get people, you show up at the front door, they're looking around, they're like, where's the other guy at? I'm like, it's just me. Same answer every time. You're not going to be able to do this yourself. And that was a fear of mine, was coming from an industry where you have 2 men minimum, even though half the time it could be a 1-person job.
Yeah.
It's a common question. And then you get hit with liability reasons, and you get hit with, well, why should I pay you the same? So I had a lot of doubts with that, with like, well, I can't afford an employee, so does it even make sense for me to continue doing this?
Yeah.
And I just wrote it out, and it still came up every day, even with Tanya. If I go there by myself, just to give an estimate, because she's doing something else. I still get asked like, oh, you're going to have other people with you, right? Like, this is heavy. It's going to be a 2-person job. Sometimes she comes with me and they're like, oh, she's not going to be able to do it either.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I promise you she could. And if she can, I will.
Speaking of which, you've had to have run into jobs where you need another man, right? Like, there's just no way.
One time.
There's what? One time?
Yeah.
One time
So
it was.
You're telling me you have been able to do every job by yourself, and then Tanya Tanya, but you've never actually needed another strong dude. You were able to, except for one time in the last. How long you been doing this business?
4.5 years.
Come on, are you serious?
So the one time
That's insane. I don't believe it.
It was a larger armoire in an indoor house with stairs. I brought the dresser down by myself, but the armoire it's too. When it's on a hand truck, it's too wide of an object to bring down yourself with that weight kind of pushing you forward. And I just didn't trust the stairs. The wood has debris. That's
wildly, almost, I don't believe it, but I know you wouldn't lie. But really, so you're trying to say you do like 99% of your, well, now you have Tanya it's probably you have her come help you, but she just joined the team like a few months ago, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I have a 1099 who's a mover. He helps me on bigger jobs for time purposes.
Jeffrey doesn't believe you.
I don't know who Jeffrey is.
I'm just kidding. No, he's cool. Hey, I'm so sorry, guys. I've been chugging this water. I'm going to go use the restroom real quick while you guys load up your next question. Or if anybody wants to comment and have any questions, just go use the restroom. Be like 2 seconds.
Denise corrected her question, so when you come back.
Hi, everyone. So in the meantime...
It's funny because I'll be on jobs with Chris and I'll be like, so you could have done this all by yourself. And he's like, yeah. And I have to believe him because I'm like, well, you ran the business almost 2 years by yourself. So I guess 3. Okay, 3. But you have a lot more volume now anyway.
That's true.
Yeah, there's a lot more. So
yeah, I mean, so I always own it. I always refer it back to moving. So when I went as a mover, I worked for franchises. I can name drop. I'm not going to. A lot of times with moving, and it's good for the business and it's shitty for us, but it is also good for the person. They train you by putting you in jobs. So it could be your first day, and they might say, "Hey, this is a hand truck. This is a dolly. Go bring that couch up the ramp." Cool. Next day, you're going to be on a job with somebody, and you're going to have to just watch and learn. And the problem is nobody wants to take the time to teach you on the job because you're on the clock and your tips are revolved around how cheap that job gets done. So it's really shitty, but what that kind of causes a lot of us to do as crew leaders and drivers and people in charge of the teams is you end up doing stuff yourself and you tell the guy who's new, hey, go grab those boxes, bring them out to the truck, go grab those things. Don't touch any furniture. Don't wrap anything. I'll take care of all of it. Because all you need is one guy to grab a dresser, go downstairs with no control, clunk, 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 half the drawers break. That liability, that claim, that damage goes on your paycheck. So you end up just learning how to do stuff yourself. And the more you do it and the more techniques you do and the more things you run into problems with and you brainstorm and you learn and you remember it for next time, it goes a long way. So, I mean, I've had jobs where I've had help, but I could have done it myself. It's more of a safety concern or maybe a risk of liability or just for time purposes, or I just don't feel like doing it. But yeah, I mean, there's been a few occasions where I should have gotten help. I really should have, but it just wasn't available. And I was like, fuck it, I'm here. And you figure it out. You figure it out. But yeah, that one armoire was the one time I left the job and came back with somebody.
So the one time that one or two times, I remember 2 times at least, when I was by myself, I asked the customer if I can cut it in half in their house with the Sawzall. It was a giant dresser. It was a double staircase that kind of like wraps around with tight fucking, the walls, and it's a staircase that goes up and then really annoying. So I cut the fucking piece of furniture in his house and vacuumed up when I was done. So I just cut it in half in the house and was just really careful not to go into his carpet, like, as you're cutting it. But yeah, to answer Denise, same thing applies. You're very like we use all the same industry standard stuff that everybody else is using with security. Everybody uses AWS, Amazon Web Services. We're using PostgreSQL with RLS, row level security. We're doing all kinds of different things like to protect your data. So we back up our data every single day. It's backed up. So if anything ever went wrong, there's a backup. We back up every day. We're eventually going to start backing up hourly. Once we get a little bit bigger, we'll back up hourly. Maybe
That's
even
good.
every. Yeah. So Denise, very secure, and we got tons of people importing data, and security is top, like one of the things that we prioritize, which is why sometimes we have buggy software, is because we're doing so much security, and then we haven't gotten to the bugs yet. So security was one of the first things we did, and we'll be all the bugs will be out of our software by October. But it's way less buggy now. And that's the thing about enterprise software is it takes about like 6 months to a year of like truly, we're a small team right now. We don't have tons of engineers. But yeah, I hope that answers your question, Denise. And yeah. Okay, so yeah, that was a long answer. But yeah,
It was good though. It was a good combo.
So Tanya had a couple of because we run into these all the time, even to this day, because I can do the work all day, and she's used to property management, so she's used to piss off people. But I still every day struggle with actual business operations and legal terms, and like, well, if this happens, what do I do? So coming from someone, I know you've had problem with employees. I know you've had a couple of problems with customers.
I had a really big employee problem. So yeah, what's your question?
So Tanya had a couple of like scenario-based questions for you, and I could ask a few as well. Just imagine you're in this situation. How would you handle it? What would you do? So you start. Unless you don't remember, then I'll start.
Yeah, you start.
All right, I'll start with the one I feel like probably doesn't come up with everyone, but it's probably in the back of our minds. Say you're on a job. Let's just pretend it's you, an employee, and you're all done. Everything's taken care of. Let's just say you didn't take pictures. You didn't take any kind of inventory or anything. No videos. And the client says, hey, that thing in the corner you guys weren't supposed to take. You took it anyways. And they try to accuse you of theft because they told you shouldn't have taken this. I didn't want you to take that. I told you how much it means to me. I told you the value of it. Let's say your guys take it anyways. And now they want to accuse you of theft. They're going to sue you, this, that. We've heard it. So if you're in that situation and you're on the truck, so it's not even like it's he said, she said, you're there. How are you handling that?
So, okay. I've had this situation happen to me twice that I can remember. Both times I was not there. So let me just run through the one that vividly remembers. And I tell you how I personally ended up, I was on the truck, but one that really stuck out was Chad was running the operations. We were doing a diamond place, removing some stuff from the basement. I can't recall what was missing or what we took or what went stolen. Something got stolen. I don't remember. I don't think there was diamonds in the store still. I think it was just they thought something got stolen. The business owner called the cops. So it got serious, right? And, it's a diamond store. So I freaked out. I was like, what the fuck, Chad? What's going on? Anyways, I had my employees comply because they said they didn't steal anything. And the employees were just like, yo, I'll talk to the cops. And we just told the guy, like, yo, call the cops. That's fine. We'll come. And it was weird. The diamond dealer kept asking for all their private information. He's like, I want their employee records. And I was like, I'm not fucking giving you their employee. I said this very nice. Chad said this very nicely. Chad asked me, and I told Chad, no, we're not giving them anything. We'll talk to the cops. Yeah, we'll talk to the cops. And the cops can't even, like, if they weren't there, right? They weren't even like there when the cops were there. So nothing can be done. The cops can't arrest them because somebody said the cops will have to catch them in crime. But I was like, if you want my employees to talk to the cops, we will. So we complied in that sense, and there was nothing that could be done. And we just, we try to make it right as good as we can. And Chad did really good at basically just, complying as much as we could, and even said like, yo, we'll talk to the cops, whatever you want, but I'm not going to give you their employee records, So that was one situation that came up that was pretty scary. The other one is similar to what you said, is we threw away her, oh man, her, oh shit. Oh, hey, I lost. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I don't know what happened.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I think you have to change that. So now we're both really small.
God damn it.
There we go. Okay, now bring me back in. Okay, there we go. Hey, that works. So there you go. So there was a situation with the lady where we got rid of her urn or something like that.
Oh.
Yeah, at least she said so, but she was a hoarder too, so I didn't know what to believe. And not like a normal hoarder, like a hoarder that's kind of like, little, usually a little different, right? And I did offer her a discount. I apologized, and I think, I don't know what I said, but now if I'm in that scenario, I would just be like, hey, I was in that scenario. I would just, what can you do? There's nothing you can do except say, it wasn't me. I'm so sorry. Because if you start blaming them, you can't really just start saying it's your fault. You should have marked it. There's no point on harping on about that, because you're just going to get in a battle, a tit for tat bullshit battle. Yeah. So there's no point in doing that except just apologizing. And I would just deeply apologize. I'd probably offer a discount. And then if she was being a bitch, like a bitch about it, I would then probably say, I'm more than happy if you want to call the police and turn this into an investigation. I have all my paperwork. I have my insurance. I did not steal any. And just show the cop. Like, if she just put your cards on the table and then show the cop and just be, look, the officer will believe you because you're completely complying, and you show that you run a legit business. I think that would be kind of like the worst case scenario if a customer lost it. But most customers probably will never take it that far, ever. So I think all you can do is apologize and offer a discount, but not blame them. You probably have to blame yourself and just say, I am so sorry. I don't know if there was miscommunication, or maybe I just didn't. I don't know what to tell you, but it's already in the landfill. There's not much we can do about it. But yeah, those are shitty scenarios to be in, man. There's not much you can do about it, really, truly.
Well, it's interesting too, because I think, and I've seen this on a couple of the junk removal Facebook pages. So a lot of people have been asking recently. Those pages are great to just get some like stories and hear different things going on. But we've been talking, and we recently just got contracts made up by an attorney for, kind of discussing scenarios where if something
really?
gets, because especially in Florida, it's a state of lawsuits and things like that. So protecting ourselves. And I know, like Kevin has client agreement forms and things like that. And Sarah asked a question earlier about even other employees working for you. How do you prevent them from trying to steal your customers? And I was like, I think that's where non-competes come in. So what about like your thoughts on contracts and paperwork?
Okay, so non-competes were just banned by the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, last
year.
Yeah, so they nationwide banned it, the Federal Trade Commission. So yeah, non-competes are no longer legal except in certain situations. Like, I don't know the exceptions, but they banned non-competes for the fair use, for the fairness of employees, because it limits an employee of what they can and can't do. God forbid they quit your company, and it, you know what I mean? It kind of limits the employee. So it kind of sucks. But non-competes are no longer a thing. Look it up later with the FTC. You can just see it's all over the government website. So it's like super legit. Now, contracts. I was going to mention that, but let's be real. I'm trying to think of every cleaner I've ever hired. or, you know, like I guess they've always done contracts. Like, I guess you could, if you could like integrate it in a nice little way and you just show them the iPad or iPhone and you go, hey, this is just letting you know that we're only taking the items we discussed, and you know, it protects me and you. But I'm just trying to think. I've never hired a moving company as contracts. I've never hired a cleaning company or never seen a junk removal do contracts. Not even cleaning companies when they come clean my my place. So it's one of those things I'm just like, is that gonna like weird them out or be inconvenient? But at the same time, if it's presented like pretty smooth and pretty fast, and you don't whip out a piece of paper where they have to like sign it with the pen, that might get a little strange. If it's the whole classic like iPad deal where you just, hey, this is just lets us start the work. This just protect, that might work. But if you were to show up with the contract with pen and paper, that might weird me out. Like me personally, if somebody showed up with a pen and paper in the contract, I'd be like, I ain't signing that. But if it's on an iPad, I don't know why. I don't know why I meant like psychologically that just because you always see
it
like
seems less like daunting or like
it seems less daunting because it just feels like when a internet worker comes to fix the internet in your house, or or HVAC comes and fix or the hot water, they always kind of make you sign something on an iPad, right?
Yeah.
It's never a piece of paper.
It's like terms and conditions, like for everything. Yeah. Now everything you got to sign like a quick term.
So I think if you did it smoothly on an iPad and it had your company logo and it was a quick like, hey, this just lets us start the job. And, nobody fucking reads that. I don't suggest, Chris, that you show up with that piece of paper, though, and have them sign it with their pen. That would alarm me personally. I have a better question. I have a question for you. Have you done that?
Yes, 4 times.
And
no hesitation.
They're large cost jobs too, though. It's not like $100 job.
If I'm going to pick up a couch.
So on bigger jobs, I guess that wouldn't be as daunting.
Like
but you're not doing it on like the $100 to $500 jobs or the.
No.
Okay.
No. Unless we got weird dealing from the customer, but I got DocuSign. I'm just trying to figure out how to use it.
DocuSign it's kind of, I mean, it goes to their phone. It's pretty easy to use, but we're launching contracts in Autopilot in a couple months.
I was just going to ask you, I was like, is that going to be something Autopilot has soon? Because it would be super easy if the Invoice CRM app just had it right there.
Bruh.
I've already asked it.
It's going to be so awesome because I have this vision of it, like, because we're adding dumpster rentals and it requires contracts, but I'm just like, dude, I'm going to have it's going to be the most awesome it's going to be so convenient because all companies could use contracts. I was like, just not dumpster rentals. So we're going to really build it into making it very easy to have a contract associated with the job, and you send them a link and they click the link on the text message, or they can do it on your device too. Or they get a quick text message with the link and they just literally, just like kind of the invoice link, and they just kind of swipe their finger real quick and hit accept. So we're going to make, or sign or whatever. So we're going to make it very easy for contracts.
Yeah, I think that's important, like to be able to do that. Like we've learned, over experiences just to cover ourselves, and having something like that and will make it super easy.
What's crazy? My whole 2.5 years, I only did, it wasn't even a contract. The $30,000, my first demo job, no contract. And the $115,000 job, no contract. However, we put the terms and conditions. I put my terms and payment terms on the invoice, and that was it. He was cool with that. And then as soon as he sent me the deposit, I was like, oh, okay, they mean business, right? So it was just an invoice. And in the invoice notes on the Workies invoice at the time, I just stuffed the invoice notes with all the terms of, it kind of was a contract, what we were going to do, what we expected, payment terms. So in a sense, it was kind of like a contract, but it wasn't like a flushed out real one that it could have been for that $115,000 job.
Crazy.
Yeah, I can't imagine that. Yeah, we really just got contracts made because we had a couple of situations, but we had one client that was the most innocent job that turned into a fucking nightmare, and it still goes on to this day. This was back in October of 2023, and she's still, not as consistently, but she's still reaching out to us, and she's a wealthy person with memory that's starting to go, and she's in a very high-end area of our South Florida. and she's like the worst kind of person like you want to piss off because she has the money and the retirement life and the attitude to take it as far as she wants.
Okay.
And it's been going back and forth, and I've told the attorney about it, and I was like, hey, this is our situation. And he's like,
wait, so hold on, I missed the first part. What's going, like, why are you guys going back and forth with an attorney? Does she owe you money, or?
Oh, no, everything's fine. But like after the job was done, she was like, you guys stole this, you stole that.
Okay, that's that lady.
Yeah. Did I tell you about that?
Well, the scenario that you're talking about earlier, so it's this lady.
Okay. Yes, this lady.
So she thinks you, how much in value is she claiming you stole?
Jewelry over 30 grand.
So let me ask you something. Was there any possibility the jewelry was in the pile of stuff at all, or was there zero jewelry?
I don't remember taking any, whether it's in a bag or a box.
So whether it was in a bag or a dresser that she didn't open, you just took the shit and just dumped it, right?
Pretty much.
So it's one of those scenarios. It's like,
that is sort through everything.
It's like, even if your $30,000 of jewelry was in there, it's not my job to open every fucking bag and every box and every drawer that you put for me to take. Yeah, that's a shitty situation.
Yeah, it gets more complicated than that too, but we'll keep it subtle.
I bet.
Yeah, that was the reason behind it, and we had a couple of situations where people were just weird about stuff, and I was like,
So at the end of the day, I'll tell you this. Okay, the law is a funny thing. I've sued people. I've countersued. I've been sued. I've dealt with the IRS. Here's the funny thing. You got small claims is different in each state, right? Most states, small claims is like $5,000 to $10,000. Anything over that goes into civil. To make a small claims case, you can't hire an attorney. You both have to represent yourself, and then the judge makes a decision based on your guys' stories. Once it goes into civil, that's where it gets tricky, right? She now has to decide. And here's the thing. Don't think just because, like, let's just say the worst case scenario is she does a civil suit, right? And she tries. Okay, let's get real. The judge is not going to side with her. Okay. At the end of the day, she's a wealthy lady. She's going to see that you're a junk removal company. They're going to look at you guys and go, okay, these people did not steal the jewelry. And it's going to be a long case, right? It's going to take you a few months before you ended up in court. You're going to have to plead your case. There might be another one to go to trial. There might even be a jury. And she's going to have to spend $20,000 to have her lawyer fight you guys while you guys can be representing yourselves and be like, you don't have to get a lawyer. Check your state. I don't know if you're allowed to. You should be able to represent for yourself for free in case you can't afford a lawyer. So you absolutely should be able to defend yourself civilly. So at the end of the day, it's going to come down to the judge or the jury. So I always, whenever I was in issues or problems, I said, sue me. Let's go. Because suing costs money. And it is not easy. And every time I've in my entire life, anytime anybody's said they're going to sue me, I was like, go ahead. I will win because I know the facts, right? I did not steal. I did not copy, whatever it is. So don't ever, what I've learned in life, and I've learned a lot because I've had millions of dollars and I've had people sue me. I've countersued. I've been in court. I've filed small claims. I've filed small claims multiple times, and I've won small claims. I've lost small claims. I've filed restraining orders and lost restraining orders. I've dealt with the law so much that it is hard to win a case. It is very, very hard. You have to have overwhelming evidence, right, to win. So all I'm saying is, don't worry. The only thing you should worry about is getting a 1-star review.
Well, luckily she's not that tech savvy, so that probably would have been done already.
Yeah, dude. So don't stress out about this. And I want you guys, if she did sue you, don't even stress about that. You're gonna win. Okay, you're gonna win. So don't let it fuck up with your. Don't let it sit in the back. And you probably are. It probably is fucking with you, right, Chris?
It did for about a year.
Oh God,
it was really bad for him. He couldn't hear the name without.
Bro, you should have hit me up. I would have de-stressed you. Not that way, but you know what I meant. I would de-stress you with my words of wisdom.
Like what Jeffrey said, I kept telling Chris is like, she needs a burden of proof. Like she can say whatever she wants, but until you have some type, especially with multiple hands, it wasn't a job we just did. There was movers involved. There was friends helping her with stuff and like multiple people involved.
Dude,
So
that shouldn't have stressed you out at all, Chris.
It was a first time happening.
I'm used to people suing like the company I worked for.
I'm not gonna lie.
Lost it every month.
When I got sued by my employee, he got a law firm, and it's a workers' comp issue. So any law firm will take that case for free because the state pays the workers' comp, right? So it's not like they're gonna. If they had to come collect from me, he wouldn't have taken that case for free because it's much hard. I don't know if you guys know this, but there's two parts to lawsuits. There is the lawsuit, the civil case, winning the lawsuit. Then there is the case of getting them to pay. Just because you win the case doesn't mean you have to pay. And getting them to pay is much harder than you could ever imagine. O.J. Simpson never paid. Like it's all because he was protected in Florida. So point is you never getting the customer to pay or getting them to pay is equally as hard as winning the case. So just keep that in mind. Dude, you're good.
Well, now I'm not as worried about it, but back then it was a whole new thing for me.
When I had my lawsuit from my employee, the workers' comp case, I was a little scared, but then I realized I was like, okay, the only thing I was worried about was, okay, they're going to put a lien on me. And I was like, okay, am I going to have to pay this? And I was like, no. And I Googled it too before ChatGPT and shit, like maybe ChatGPT was out, but I was a little scared. I was like, oh my God, shit, jail time if you mismark employees. And I was like freaking out, right? I was like, holy shit, jail time for mislabeling employees and like illegally hiring 1099 contractors. And I was freaked out. So I went up to LegalShield.com. I signed up for Legal Shield. It's $99 a month. That sounds like a sponsor, right?
Yeah.
Legal Shield. And you could talk to attorneys, right? And ask questions. So I got an attorney who is familiar in workers' comp law. And I started asking all these questions. And she was like, you're not going to jail. She's like, I was freaked out. And Christina was more freaked out because the business is in her name. She was freaking the fuck out. She's like, I'm going to jail. And because it was a workers' comp situation where they were claiming, that we hired him illegally as 1099. And now he's suing us because he broke his leg and he wants to be paid out by workers' comp. So he wants his workers' comp to pay for his leg. And I wouldn't give him the money. I was like, I'm not giving you any money to pay your leg. I don't have the money to pay for your leg, bro. And we were paranoid as fuck. That was the scariest I ever got. Then I talked to the lady. She's like, are you hiding a bunch of employees? Like lots of them? Is this your first offense, second offense? I was like, I just started this business. I don't know. She's like, okay, you don't know what you're doing. You're fine. Okay. You only go to jail if you keep doing it and you're a repeat offender of trying to hide 1099 employees. She's like, and for this, she was like, for this to even show up in court, you would have to have like 10 employees file a labor lawsuit against you, and you'd have to be paying them so much money, like $60,000. You get where I'm going with this. Yeah. So what ended up happening is I filed with the state of California. You have to file at the end of the year how many contractors you have and how many W-2 employees you have. So I filed with the state of California. I had 0 employees, no W-2 employees, only contractors with California's EDD department. You do it every year. So as soon as I filed that I had no employees, I got refunded, or not refunded. The money, the $37,000 workers' comp case was wiped clean because workers' comp is only paid out to W-2 employees, not contractors. And I was like, holy shit, they're not going to if California's watching this, fine. They'll probably come get me and find me, but I don't care. Actually, California, if you're watching this, is a fictional story. They were all 1099 contractors.
Hypothetical.
The point is, I don't know if he got paid out or not. I don't think so. I don't know. Maybe Medi-Cal or Medicaid or whatever paid it for him. But all I know is I never had to pay the workers' comp, and it got wiped clean because all I claimed I had 1099. They were all 1099 contractors. I did not at the time have W-2 employees. Obviously, I got W-2 employees later. That scared the shit out of me. But up until that point, it was all 1099. I told California all 1099. So that case was wiped. The lien was taken off which is wild. I was like, holy shit. So cool story. Just thought I'd, don't get scared as you think, like, don't scare yourself. If you're not purposely doing illegal shit and you're acting out of ignorance, you're fine. Right. That's where things get tricky, is like if you're evading taxes, or you are hiring 1099 contract, but if it's like a gray area and you don't know, and you're like, hey, he's not always here. I didn't know, lawyer, judge, like I just use them sometimes. You'll be fine. Now, I'm not saying always follow the law. Like, I just want to be clear. Just don't scare yourself.
Yeah.
You ever seen any other questions?
Well, I have one more.
I hope that answered most of your questions.
It did. It did. I have one more. It's kind of like an ending question too. So I guess it's a good time. Really, you have a plethora, like I said earlier, of information, like your history and all of the knowledge you have, and even like just your followers and people who know you and follow your story. Mm-hmm. What's one lesson, if you had to pick one, that you would like all your followers and viewers to kind of get from your content, whether it's in business or personal life, or just something that you want people to take home with them, take away with?
So this is going to be cheesy, but
I like cheesy.
What I've learned. I think my greatest strength is I stay the path. So a lot of people, when they start building something, a junk removal company, and you hit a roadblock, a lot of people start thinking like, okay, maybe I should do this. Maybe I should do that. Maybe I should diversify my basket of eggs and, do a little bit of this and a little bit of that and a little bit of this, or they change what they're doing in their junk removal company. What I've learned in my life is you work through that pain, because most people, before they become massively successful, they give up, or they flatline and they stop. They're like, okay, I'm happy at this level. I'm content at this level because I don't want to endure any more pain. The pain of going through new problems in business is part of business. And that's why most people flatline at $1 million or 3 million or 10 million or $250,000, is because they get to that point and then they reach this new pain that they don't want to deal with. And I know where yours is, Chris, is you don't want to deal with people. You don't want to deal with employees. So your flatlines, you will always stay where you're at until you're ready to go to the next stage. And most people they don't want to go through that new learning lesson of pain, but that's a part of growing business. Is you stay the path. It's either you stay where you're at and you're happy and content, or if you want to keep growing, you keep going and you endure the pain and you learn the lessons. And I think that's my greatest thing that I've learned in business is I can stick with something. Like I did it with junk removal. I would have stayed with junk removal had it not gotten in the way of Autopilot, but Autopilot was always the goal. I would have stayed with Gypsy had fucking COVID not taken over the world. I stayed with my fitness app for 3 years. And then I was like, okay, I'm fucking miserable. I'm out. There comes a point like, if you're miserable, get out. Now, so if I had to sum up my lessons in life, is most people give up before they see the gold on the other side.
I was gonna say, it's like that picture with the tunnel.
Yeah. So it's very cheesy, but most people like, or they'll hit a plateau or a hard block, and they'll say, I don't want to do this, and they'll go do something different. So maybe instead of hiring the employees, Chris, and trying to scale eventually, you go do something different. You add other services, or you do whatever it is, right? Instead of staying on the path to growth. So don't give up and don't veer from the path just because it gets hard. Hard is part of business. It's part of life. You have to go through it. And most people, and I say this for business because most people, they get to that hard part and they fucking start adding other features or doing other things because they don't want to deal with the next level of business to getting to the next level of to getting their business to the next level. They don't want to deal with the next learning lesson. So I think that's probably the thing I've learned most in business. And I'm pretty good at dealing with pain and suffering in business, right? I don't, and dealing with it for a long time. And I think that's what's going to set me apart. And really, Jobber and Workies and House Call Pro, they got something coming. Tanya, you are absolutely stunning. Love your smile.
Thank you, Sarah. I appreciate it.
Matt Rexing, a very the one. What is your Neo, Andrew? Very Matrix answer. A very Matrix answer. Yes, thank you. The Matrix is my all-time favorite movie of all time. All time. Love that movie. It not only it changed the entire world in 1999 of like how cinema production was, but the meaning behind the movie is so powerful. But yeah, so does that answer your question, Tanya?
That does. That's an awesome answer. And it's good because I think it gives Chris a little push. So I like that.
Cool. Hey, thank you for having me, Chris and Tanya. I can't wait to see you. You are going to the expo, right?
Yes.
For the most part.
Awesome.
Yeah, we should be. Yeah, we're trying to make it work.
No, there's no. Hey, what does Yoda say?
What does Yoda say?
Do or do not. There is no try. Do or do not.
All right, we'll make sure to make it work then. You can't not go after that.
Do not. There is no try.
Awesome.
I was just talking to Matt the other day. We're going to try to make it out, but
he's like, you better get out here. Like, it doesn't matter what needs to be done.
Dude, yeah, it doesn't. You need to be there. So thank you guys so much. I had an awesome time. And yeah, I'm going to go eat some dinner. So, anyways, have a good night. It's freaking late over there. So you guys go watch this before you go to bed. Go start season 2 of The Last of Us.
Ooh.
Hey, did you ever? Oh, did you?
We haven't watched Severance yet for season 2.
Did you guys watch From?
No, not yet.
I was just saying that earlier.
He literally at dinner, he was like, "We need to watch From." We have a list.
Okay, I'm going to send you an updated list. Okay, like tomorrow or something. But yeah. Anyways, guys, you have a good night.
All right, night, everyone. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
All right, so that is it for Andrew's live. If you guys have any questions, Tanya has to go do something really quick, but I will be here for a few minutes. If not, we'll be. We will be here for a couple of minutes. If anyone has any questions regarding moving, junk removal, first year solo, as Andrew mentioned, I did do that by myself for a few years. I did the business, I did the marketing, I did networking, I did the moving portion. Not the moving, the junk removal. Obviously, I have some flaws with when it comes to hiring employees and legal battles, but everything else is pretty much, I kind of just figured it out by myself. Didn't have any real history with business. Half my family has their own businesses, but it's all very, specific based. Nothing that I was really too aligned with. There were a couple of comments, and then there's a few that I'm assuming were spam comments or trolls. I don't know. But I saw Matt and Jojo popped in. Miguel says he appreciates the channel. Thank you, Miguel. Hopefully it helps. Denise mentioned she has estimates that are outlined very transparently, and larger jobs the customer has to sign. We never have any pushback. I haven't had pushback yet. I've only had one order lady say, like, what's all this for? And I explained it, and she said, okay, that's fine. The reason behind the contracts was it wasn't just that one lady, but we just have these situations, and then I hear things, and I can, like, overthink it, I guess. It's a very generic scope of junk removal. And I never want to talk about this because I don't want to give people ideas, but junk removal, I feel like, would be really easy to get on somebody's back legally. Like, we go in and remove stuff. Who's to say we took something we weren't supposed to, and that's a he said, she said, and or like, oh, we took this thing and it had XYZ inside of it, or like I leave and I go dump and they're like, oh, you weren't supposed to take it. It's just a lot of stuff. I feel like there could be, like, in moving, every day there was a problem. Oh, somebody broke this was taken. I'm missing this. Your guys must have gone into our safe and took our $20,000 cash that we had setting off to the side. That's our retirement. That's an emergency fund. Every fucking day that happened. And then it was like, oh, you guys never gave me this. You guys took this with you. And I'm like, no, it's not. It's in your closet to the left under the box with the shoes. 2 days later, manager tells me, oh, they found it. Of course they did. I know where I put it. But every day there was something in moving. So I used that experience and that history and I applied to junk removal. And let's see. Have you seen The Lady in the Yard? No, I have not. Mixed race babies are born funny. I hope so because they ain't gonna have good looks with my genes. Is the black chick's name junk removal? Don't know if that's sarcastic, but no, her name is Tanya. Don't know what Aqua Madonna is. Jeffrey, I think you're right. Let's see. We talked about the Matrix. Stormy weather. In junk removal, would you do any yard work like cutting vines, branches, and small trees? Not really. If you wanted to pay me my moving labor costs and said, hey, I have some yard work if you want to do it, and we didn't have any jobs, sure, if I needed money. But otherwise, no. It's very strict with the junk removal. We do moving on the side. We do some moving labor services, but that's about it for that. How do you move grand pianos and upright pianos by yourself? So upright pianos are actually fairly easy unless you have to go downstairs. I've only had to bring upright piano downstairs once, and I was not fond of the situation. Luckily, it was carpeted. Otherwise, I would have hired somebody to help me. That would have been job number 2. I basically put it on the hand truck long ways, ratchet strapped it twice, and took it down really fucking slow. And it took me a good 20 minutes. A grand piano, you can actually do a grand piano by yourself if you're on a first floor. You just have to know the order to take the legs off, tip it down onto like a moving blanket so you don't damage the floor, stand it up, lift it up, slide a dolly underneath it. You can ratchet strap it to the dolly if you want to, and then you just wheel it out the door and load it into your truck, depending on what kind of vehicle you have. So it could be done. Just make sure you know how to take apart a grand piano so you don't have it clash and cause damage to the floor. Not to say they're not heavy and it sucks, but it is doable. Did you add Tanya as a W-2? Yes, we did, Sarah. She officially has been added this last month. It took us a little while. But yeah, she is a W-2 employee. We're working on her workers' comp right now. When you don't do moving, do you charge hourly or still by volume? So we still charge by volume for junk removal. We will only charge hourly if we are doing like a clean out, or if we're doing like a storage unit or a high-rise building. We will tack in a little bit of time for like long walks or high-rise buildings with the elevators, but we don't charge hourly specifically for junk removal. We do offer junk labor. So if a client gets a dumpster delivered to their house and they don't want to do the work themselves, if they want to just hire us hourly, we'll go there and load the dumpster for them. I will still work just as efficiently as I would if I was doing anything else, but they don't have to do the work now. So we will do an hourly rate for that. We also have our one-on-one decluttering service where it's more geared towards seniors, but basically instead of just going in, grabbing stuff that's already ready, we'll go in and, we'll pull down boxes from the top shelf, open everything up, move things around, and let the client go through to sort through what they want to keep and what they want to get rid of. And we're not professional organizers. We're not going to put it back for them neatly. But what we will do is we'll separate what they don't want and we'll remove it on the spot, because we work with a lot of organizers. And something they do is the stuff they don't want, they just put it in a pile, put it off to the side until they decide what to do with it. We're basically tackling that twice at once instead of kind of leaving it behind. So those are the only cases we really charge hourly. Otherwise, it's by volume. I'm going to use Insta360 Go 3 to do my video walkthroughs of what the customer says instead of detailed contracts. That's one way to do it. I'm very keen on taking photos, and I'm using Autopilot, but not to the full extent. Sorry, Andrew, because I know you're going to see this later. I talk to Andrew every day. So in the app I currently have, I'm able to take photos for estimates and invoices. So I'll actually show you an example. We just did a clean out today. So in my estimate, this is live, so I just want to make sure I don't get personal information in there. So in my estimate, come on, there you go. You're so blurry. All right, so basically in my estimate, I have all these photos from the estimate, right? This is the bedroom. It has a sub headline that I can say, this is the bedroom, guest bedroom, kitchen, garage, shed, whatever. And then in the details, I can mark, everything goes. Jesus Christ. Everything goes. Or maybe they said, in this bedroom, everything goes, but maybe the dresser on the left stays, right? Maybe that's something they need to go through, or maybe the son wants it. So I will mark dresser stays per client's request. So now when I go back to do that job and we're all done with that move or the junk removal, I'm going to take a photo. That dresser is still going to be there. It's going to be untouched. Nothing's going to be missing from the drawers. I'm going to put in the description, this is the guest bedroom, dresser stays per client. And if they call and say, hey, everything looks good, I noticed there's still a dresser in the bedroom though. Did you forget to take that, or are you coming back? Then I can reply with, no, per your estimate, you requested me to leave that there because you wanted to have your son-in-law take it, or you wanted to go through it still. And they signed off on that estimate. Now, if they say, okay, sorry, never mind, take it, then we will adjust the price. But it's just a way for me to prevent somebody from saying, I never said that. So that's something that I personally love about the app. Andrew said he's working on getting photos added to Autopilot. When he does, we will 100% be over there. Matt Rexing, I have that listed in every single video description if you want to check that out. I don't want to steal any thunder away from Autopilot. I just want to mention that's just something that I enjoy doing. So, for example, this is the post estimate. That's the entire living room, kitchen cleared out. And I'll go through and I'll label each one. So that's something that I personally do. Videos I could see working, just make sure you hang on to them for probably like at least 30 days or so. So you just got to make sure you have the gigabyte storage to hold a bunch of videos. Jeffrey mentioned in that scenario, if it's one dresser, how much would you add to the job price? If I'm already on the job and I have the space for it, I'd probably just grab it just to make them happy. If we have to go back for it, depending on how far away it is, maybe a minimum pickup, maybe a little less. It kind of depends on the situation and how far away they are. Because obviously it's maybe a miscommunication error on their end, or it's something that they just kind of forgot to mention to us. So I'm not going to beat them up over it, especially if there's a larger job. But I wouldn't probably just do it for free unless it was local to us and it wasn't like a big deal. But that's pretty much it. So my Tanya's dad just got here, so we're gonna go say hi. So that's gonna be it for us. Hopefully you enjoy the talk with Andrew. I know everyone does live for the junk remove community, and it's always derived around what you do for marketing, what you do this, what you do that. And I feel like everyone makes videos about those anyways. So I like to talk a little bit more about the personal side and the point of view and the mindset, because all that other information can be learned in so many different sources, but that mindset you have to learn on your own. But having a perspective from somebody else who's been there, done there, whether it's a much higher scale company versus yours, or maybe just have different backgrounds, I think it's much more valuable. So that's why we ask those questions versus the generic ones. You can always go check out his channel. He's made videos about everything just like I have, and some Matt and Jojo have from Sonoma Strong, and so on. So that's going to be it for me. Hope everybody has a good night. I hope everybody is having a strong April. If you are in junk removal, if you're not in junk removal, whatever you do, I hope it is going well. It is going very well for us. And yeah, so everyone have a good night. Thank you. Maybe.